The Common Council of the City of Glendale is now in session. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Alder Vukovich,
Here.
Alder Doherty,
Here.
Alder Gailhard,
Here.
Alder Bailey,
Here.
Alder Schmelzling.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Alderwoman Shaw is ill and has to be. First item on our agenda is public comment. Glendale residents, business owners, and property owners are invited to speak to the council on items that are not on tonight's agenda but are within the city's ability to regulate or control. Is there anyone wishing to speak to a non-agenda item? Not seeing anybody in the council chambers wanting to be recognized, and the people joining us online are all staff or members of the council. So there'll be no public comment. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. And Carl, I think you had a question you wanted before we do the consent agenda?
Yeah, Jelena is going to go through just a quick financial report. We're halfway through the year financially, so I thought this was a good time for Jelena just to come up and briefly explain the financial report for June, which is 6 months through. So if you want to just grab a chair real quick and come up to the. Just make sure the red is on the, yep, there you go.
Good evening there, Mayor and Council members. My name is Jialing Li. I'm the Finance Director of the city. On behalf of the Finance Department, I'm pleased to present the semi-annual financial report for the period ending June 30th, 2025. This report provides a detailed summary of revenue and the expenditure activities, budget performance, and the fiscal status of the city. So overall, the total revenue for all funds as of June 30th, it's 36 million, reflecting a variance of 74% compared to the adopted budget. And the total expenditure is 27 million, which is about 53%. Our general fund total revenue is 11 million, and it's about 69% of the budget. Total expenditure is 9.5 million, and it's about 58% of the budget. So the general fund balance as of June 30 remains stable and consistent with all funds activity. And then now let's take a look at the detailed finance information for each category. So I think you guys have the report already, right? Okay, so let's go over the revenue section. So as I mentioned before, the general fund, it's about like 69%. Basically, it's because we collected the property tax already, and there's the building permit revenue increasing. So that causing it's more revenue now. And for the proprietary funds, it's already it's about like 50%, and we are getting to the target. For the special revenue funds, the environmental funds, it's like higher percentage. That's because this fund, including both residential and the commercial environmental fee, and the residential fees will be reclassed to the recycling fund. The city water is working on setting up the accounts in the system, so we are going to reclass to that fund later. And for the police acquisition fund, the higher percentage because there's the PD forfeiture funds in that fund. And go down to the special events and health human services. The higher percentage is also because the property tax are already collected. Do you have any question about the revenue section?
First of all, thank you for coming and doing this because it's really a
pleasure to
start to see how all the numbers come together. I was just curious, like I saw that the recycling and refuse was lower than 50%. We're halfway through the year, as the hotels were a little bit lower. Just curious, was there a timing consideration on that, or do we expect that um, potentially the hotel one wouldn't get to where we targeted?
The environmental one is, or the refuge and recycling is lower because the money is sitting right now in the environmental fund where it was
Right.
last year. It needs to
Okay.
just be reclassified, so that's the majority of it. Yeah. Hotel tax dollars, we'd have to look at the monthly report for hotels to know when our peak is, but I believe our peak is around like Oktoberfest, so then we start to catch up for the year.
Sounds like, yeah, also, of course, turn of the year, like holidays, makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Those are the only two that I kind of saw that were kind of deviating, but thank you.
Alderman Doherty?
Or anything that concerns you as far as where we are at this point versus end of year plan?
I don't think so. I think right now we are pretty in stable status.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Alderman Gelhardt.
Is there any possibility that the current federal administration might claw back any monies like COVID monies or ARPA monies or anything like that that we were counting on in the future, but might be in jeopardy going forward?
But yeah, we do have the ARPA fund. We have the project for the ARPA funds, the sidewalk.
Yeah, we've already received the funds for the ARPA.
Yes,
And spent them.
That is correct.
that's correct. Yeah.
Clarification.
Just like governments do.
They can go after the contractors.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for giving us a report. Appreciate that. So we now have before us, let's see, the consent agenda. What?
Over one thing real
Oh,
quick. I'm
okay,
just
you have
trying to
more?
have Abby share the screen. Sorry. So I just had one figure I wanted to show everybody.
Is this also with the consent agenda?
It's with the consent
Okay,
agenda. Yeah.
got it.
Oh, that did not work as I wanted to. All right, I will forego this. What I was gonna bring up is the fact that in the monthly report, there was a item on there that showed building permit activity. I don't know if you guys saw this, but for the month of June, there was $54 million worth of estimated value in building improvements that permits were issued for during the month of June. The prior months were 5.3, 7.2, 4, 14, and 1.5 million. So what our front counter staff and our building inspectors have been doing over the last month, issuing $54 million worth of permits, has been a lot. So thanks to Abby, Emily, and Todd Dobler for all the work of getting $54 million worth of value. Most of it is in the 2510 Goodell project, but it's still a lot of permits to be issued. So thank you, guys.
All right, anything else before we, or a motion to adopt the consent agenda? All right, can I get a motion then to adopt the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Bailey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vukovich. We will consider the consent agenda adopted without objection. Hearing no objection, we will move on then to our public hearing. We are noticed this evening for a public hearing on an ordinance amending 13.1.20 sub B of the zoning code to allow general business offices with common accessory uses, light manufacturing, not exceeding 60% of the gross floor area of the primary structure as a permitted use in B1 and C1 zoning districts, and to allow physical activity studio as a permitted B5 zoning district, and then amending 13.1.200 definitions to add physical activity studio. Mr. Warwick, is there anything you wanted to add to that? I believe this was before us once before, and we sent it to the Plan Commission already.
That is correct. This is the result of one new business wanting to open in the B1, C1 zoning district called Bernie's Book Bank. And then the second one is moving a fitness activity studio from an area on Bender Road to B5 zoning district, which is generally on Mill Road on the south side.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of the council before we open the public hearing? All right, this has been to the Plan Commission, was referred back to the council with a recommendation for approval, but by state statute, we must hold a public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on the zoning changes that have been recommended by the Planning and Architecture Review Commission? I don't see anyone in the council chambers wishing to be recognized. Is there anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing that's joining us on the Zoom? If so, you can unmute and state your name and address. All right, second call. Anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing? third and final call for the public hearing on the rezoning of two business districts. All right, I'll entertain a motion from a member of the council to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Doherty, seconded by Schmelzling. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, no? The public hearing is now closed. Before us now is an ordinance, description already given. Can I get a motion to adopt the ordinance that has been referred from the Planning and Architecture Review Commission and was presented to us in our packets?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Doherty. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bailey. Any further discussion from members of the council? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the ordinance changes, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. The ordinance is adopted. We'll now move on to our new business. The first item is item 5A, review and possible action to authorizing the city attorney to take any and all legal steps, including initiating a nuisance action in circuit court under common law, chapter 823 of the Wisconsin statutes, and chapter 11.6 of the city code to abate the conditions on and improper use at the residential property located at 1005 West Riverview Drive. And I will turn it over to staff, I guess, or I know this is brought forward by Alderman Doherty, but staff?
Carl, could you give us a little history?
I'll just give a little history. Thank you. So the city and the staff and city attorney have been working for a number of years on abatement issues of this property. Due to the number of and the severity of the conditions on this property, they meet the definition in the code or staff feels of a nuisance. In order to initiate the nuisance actions, the common council has to do that. So we're bringing it before the common council to consider the issuance of nuisance action on this property.
Right? Questions? Yeah, Alderman Doherty, go ahead.
Just a comment. This has been going on for years, and this is a serious stage we're at, but it's what's required. The city's put in an inordinate amount of time on this property to get anything done. Something happens, and then it just reverts back. This has gone on and on over and over. So I don't see another way around it. This needs to happen. Thank you.
Any other?
Kennedy?
Yeah, go ahead, Alderwoman Vukovic.
Question, when it's classified as a nuisance, what happens then?
There we go. The city has the ability to seek a court order to abate the nuisance, which would either allow the city to clean up and correct any conditions on the property that are not in compliance with the code and then charge it back as a special charge at the end of the year on the tax roll. Also, we can obtain an order, cease and desist order for certain activities. The main problem that we see is that the property owner also owns a business akin to, if you've ever heard of Got Junk, like a junk removal business. And from what we believe is that items are brought back to the property for sorting to decide what to do with them thereafter. So there's just an ongoing sort of conveyor belt of kind of junk in the yard and in the back as well. So that it gives us the opportunity to assert that action and then get court orders to abate the nuisance.
Anything else, Alderwoman?
So those are the two options. We just put it on the tax rolls and then I'm not understanding what is the second thing we can do?
Well, I think we would also ask for a cease and desist order so that there's no activities associated with operation of the junk removal business will be carried out on that property. And then that gives us the opportunity to seek contempt orders if it continues. But I think that the main problem is that there would be junk would appear, it would be that way for 3-4 weeks. It would get cleaned up and then there'd be a new set of materials there, a new set of junk. So it's like a rotating, it just keeps coming back to the same problem over and over and over again. So we've expressed this to the property owner and the inspector's been out there and, we'll do whatever we can to gain voluntary compliance. But this at least gives us the opportunity in our back pocket to, to file the nuisance action in circuit court.
All right, thank you.
And I'll just add on this property, a year and a half ago when I was up for reelection, I was doing doors in that neighborhood and talked with a number of neighbors for whom the only thing that they wanted the city to do was fix this property. And I remember having conversations with Alderman Doherty at that time, and he said, Brian, I have been dealing with this property the entire time I've been alderman.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah. So, I think we finally reached a point where, you can keep sending letters and they'll do cleanup and then they'll mess it up again. And then you send letters and do cleanup. And at some point you just have to draw the line in the sand and say, that's it, we're done. You can't keep doing this and keep getting corrective action. So, I think this is the right step to take. So, any other questions? Yeah, Alderman Schmelzing, go ahead.
Generally speaking, what's the anticipated cost for just doing this type of activity, legal fees and such? Just kind of a perspective of what it would cost us to do this. Not saying I wouldn't want to move forward with that because we're spending time and money and opportunity costs for our staff regardless.
That all will depend on if they fight it. It'll only take, a couple hours to put together a packet, summons and complaint, and then have it served. Not really a big deal. And then from there, they might just say, okay, we understand. We'll consent to an order from the court and we'll do X, Y, and Z and we'll remain under the jurisdiction of the court. Then that's fine. If they fight it and then there's hearings or additional motion practice, that's when it could get more expensive. But I don't know how to answer that without knowing how the property owner will respond to the summons.
One other item, there's also going to be daily charges that are going to be fairly significant starting.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
Hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day.
We could theoretically, a couple of different things. There's reinspection fees that the city can impose properly. There's also municipal ordinance violations. Every single day that it's not in compliance with the building code constitutes, under the case law, constitutes a separate offense. So you can theoretically continue to issue citations until the property's brought into compliance. So there's generating revenue to specifically deal with the problem there. So there's other things we can do to recoup some of that as we move through the process. I can also, ask for, taxable costs and fees, and we'll do that to the extent that we can. So we'll try to mitigate the cost as much as possible.
I'd argue the real cost of this has been people unable to use their yards, unable to have a decent neighborhood, have odor so bad they can't go outside, animals, trucks and cars that have been there that aren't registered. I mean, it goes on. The list goes on and on and on. This is the worst case I've dealt with, and it's the longest case I've dealt with. It's not that you couldn't get some compliance sometimes, but you'll get a repeat. 3 months is charitable.
Right. Nope. I just was just curious how that all worked out. So, yeah, I think we don't want to let garbage fester over and over again. I think our neighborhoods deserve better than that, and our neighbors. Thank you.
Alderman Gelhard?
I did get a call on this property, I know it was 1 or 2 weeks ago, and from a resident in that neighborhood, and I listened and was quite sympathetic, and I said, well, I'm sorry, you have to defer to Alderman Doherty on this one.
Yeah.
Might be somebody I haven't talked to in that neighborhood. It's possible. Unlikely, but possible.
Yep. All right, any other questions or comments from members of the council? Okay, so the recommendation is for the council to declare 1005 West Riverview as a chronic property maintenance property and to direct the city attorney to pursue whatever legal action is necessary in the courts to get this property in compliance. Alderman Doherty, would you like to make that motion?
I would. So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Gelhard. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is an authorization to execute an agreement with Aqualis for the 2025 sanitary CCTV and cleaning project, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Warwick.
Thank you. As the city does every year, we bid out the closed circuit television televising of our sanitary sewer system and cleaning project. This year went out to bid. Aqualis was the low bidder of 234, 731. There was 3 total bidders. That was the lowest. The highest was nearly $1 million. So the city recommends awarding the contract to the low bidder Aqualis on this project.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from members of the council? Questions? Okay, can we get a motion then to approve the agreement with Aqualis?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Alderman Gelhardt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Schmelzling. Any discussion, debate? All those in favor of approving, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. And our last item of new business is an authorization to execute a professional services agreement for schematic design services for the city police facility with FGM Architects, not to exceed $115,500. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Warwick.
Thank you again. So I'll start off, and if Chief Fugman wants to hop in, please do so. So this contract is for $115,500. The purpose of this, which is a portion of the total design of the project, is to provide us the detail necessary to begin the design to get us the cost estimate for the project. Over the last couple of years, there's been funds in the capital improvement fund for this project. And of course, those funds are the best estimate that we can have based on the information that we have. So we felt it necessary to break this project into 2 different services. One, the $115,500 to allow us to get the cost estimate for the project before we spend the additional funds to design it, if it comes back in excess of whatever amount the council doesn't feel comfortable spending. The project will be driven, just so everybody knows, mainly by the mechanical, plumbing, electrical, HVAC systems that are oftentimes non-functional in the police department. The air conditioner breaks constantly, the sump pump doesn't work, there's electrical components that malfunction, there's bathrooms that are unusable over there at this point. So the building is becoming to the point where it is becoming hard to use, just a basic part of a police station. So most of the cost, I'm going to guess, is going to come in those systems. The structure of the building looks pretty sound, and it looks like, just from looking at the building, that can move a couple rounds of walls around, redo some bathrooms and redo some aesthetics. But the majority of the cost is just going to make sure that there's functional systems in that building. So that's why we're recommending breaking it out into 2 different contracts. Once the schematic design, the cost estimate comes back, we would bring back a further cost of design and then the cost estimate and how it fits within the current estimate we have in the capital improvement plan.
I believe we included police department when we were considering the city hall. So I'm assuming when we had them doing the full facilities inventory for us, I believe we had a bunch of stuff from the police department, but that data's got to be what, 7 or 8 years old at this point. So we haven't done anything updated since then, have we? I'm seeing Jessica shaking her head no, and she would definitely be the one that would know. Yeah.
No, we did not.
Okay. So this is essentially to update that information that we got from 7 or 8 years ago to determine what the likely cost would be to move forward.
Since you ran out of money, right? I mean,
Right.
got the garage done, and that was really. But
We got the garage done. We have the evidence
Evidence
property room. But the rest of the PD is still same as it was.
Yep.
Just curious, going back in time, was the prior plans for a demolition of the police department and reconstruction, or was the prior plans done years ago for like a mechanical refurbish? Just kind of want to know where we're starting from what we know today.
It was primarily a remodel, not a
Okay.
full knockdown. I mean, they were talking about doing that in phases, so it wasn't a complete leave the building. It's similar to this. It's once we get to the planning stage of, can we utilize space that's not being used more efficiently and maybe change the setup of the department. And again, once they dive deeper into this, what the cost is going to be for the HVAC and those systems will determine what we can do with the rest of the building.
I know City Hall turned out to be a raise, start from scratch sort of setup. So I'm just curious if that's, it is an option. It sounds like it might have to go that way depending what they come up with.
Yeah, we think that the building structure is in good shape, and Being around landfill facilities, we want to not dig in any ground if possible. So that's why we hope we can reuse what is already here. This architecture group specializes in public safety buildings. I put a list of the number of ones that they've done on there. There's many others that I didn't include. We did interview 3 architectural firms in making this decision. So they were the ones that was recommended by the police department to move forward with the design.
Any other questions? All right, well, we do have a recommendation from staff. We authorize the city administrator to execute the professional services agreement with FGM Architects. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Doherty. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vukovic. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, no? Motion carries. All right, we will now move on to commission, committee, board, and staff reports. And I will start with the deputy clerk. Anything to report?
Nothing at this.
Thank you, chief.
So we are hiring 2 new officers on Thursday. They'll be going to the academy starting next week. And then we have another officer that'll be promoted to sergeant on Friday the 1st.
Thank you.
Where's that put you on total staffing?
We still have an officer out with injury, and then we still have another vacancy, 2 other vacancies. We're close to potentially hiring another person in September, and we're still looking for to identify a candidate for that last spot. So we're getting there.
Any retirements between now and the end of the year that you know of? Like more vacancies coming?
26, we have a few more retirements, but it's slowing down, it looks like, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. City administrator?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
City attorney? All right, Alderman Vukovic.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Alderman Doherty.
Nothing to report tonight.
Alderman Gelhard.
Nothing this evening.
Alderman Bailey.
Nothing this evening.
Alderman Schmelzing.
Nothing for me.
All right. We are, and the mayor, I don't have anything to report either. Closed session, we are noticed to convene in a closed session to discuss an employee or personnel issue regarding the city clerk. We will not be taking any action or having any votes when we return to open session. So the closed session is merely to get information from staff and from our legal counsel. And when we return into open session, it will be simply to adjourn the meeting. So can I get a motion to convene in closed session subject to the statutes indicated on the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Bailey,
Second.
seconded by Gelhard. All those in favor of convening in closed session, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. We are now in closed session. And you'll pause the recording? Don't stop it, but pause. Bring the person back in from the waiting room. Okay, it is 6:43 PM. We were convened in closed session to discuss a personnel issue. It was moved by Alderman Gelhard, seconded by Alderwoman Vukovic to reconvene in open session. The vote was unanimous. There is no other business before the council. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved by Doherty,
Second.
seconded by Vukovic. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 It is 6:43 PM and the Common Council of the City of Glendale stands adjourned.